early Christmas present.
Yeah, early Christmas for his next run.
All right. Welcome to our council meeting for tonight, December 4th, 2019. We will begin with an invocation by Councilmember Isom and then the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilwoman Hartley.
Our Father in heaven, we bow with hearts full of gratitude for the season of the year and the blessings that we enjoy in this community. We're thankful for the wonderful moisture we are receiving. We're thankful for the season of the year and the good feelings that we feel as members of the community toward each other. It's a glorious season. We thank thee for it. We are grateful to meet and talk about matters that are of importance to our community. And we pray that for thy spirit to attend us and to help us in our deliberations and to help guide our efforts. We express gratitude for all who help the city run so flawlessly. We pray for each of those who are staff and administrative leaders in the city. We pray also especially for those who protect us, our fire and police departments. Please bless them and protect them. We have much to be grateful for, and we thank thee for all of the goodness of our lives and do it in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now move on to our agenda order approval, and this will be for all three agendas. Are there any items the council would like changed? And if not,
I'll move to approve the agendas for each of the three meetings.
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move to council business.
I wanted to thank Ken Nielsen and our city workers for the repairs to the Canyon Trail. That was done very quickly, and that's a great repair. And I'm sure each one of us can express the gratitude for how pretty Main Street looks. We are getting nothing but rave reviews.
Yep.
And that's a great change. So
There are no
I miss the
bananas.
bananas, but
I do too. I miss the swags.
I
They
think
could have gone around the corner. They could have,
You're the only one then.
Anyway, it's just beautiful and perfect for the season. So thanks.
Did the wind totally destroy the big light?
That was one of my questions, actually.
So it bent a couple of the frame members and some of the welds needed repair, but Ryan's guys have been working on it. We think we'll have it up this week, Ryan. Yeah.
All right, great.
Along
Thank
with the
you.
other two pieces I know have returned to the park as well.
Public Works to the rescue.
So who retrieved them from the street? I heard that
Well, it didn't quite get into the street.
it didn't.
That was a little hyperbole.
Yeah.
Oh, so
It was-
somebody was
Yeah.
overstating the.
It was blown and bent down and into the sidewalk area. We also, just another note on the wind, I heard we lost 6 trees out at the golf course, a roof off of the concession building at the Little League ballparks, not the new one, the old building, and then a roof off of one of the dugouts. We lost that too.
I witnessed that one.
In Main Street Park, we lost the large lighted Christmas tree and a couple of the displays there we'll have to fix.
Lost them how? They blew away?
Well, the roof on the concession building actually blew away. It
Yeah.
blew across the parking lot, so the roof on the dugout.
Yeah, the dugout's on the ground.
Trees blew over at the golf course, and the decorations in the park, the large lit Christmas tree
Huh?
blew over. They caught it before it got to Hermes.
Is it repairable?
Yeah, I think they're putting
Right.
they're putting them all
Right.
back together, except the trees and the roofs.
Well, yeah. Yeah, there was trees lost all over town. But my thanks to the city crews for the great work they did. I've never seen the wind blow like that, and the wind blows a lot in Cedar City.
Yeah.
So congratulations. I would like to just also offer my thanks to Drew Jackson and whoever's responsible. I did drive by the apartment complex we talked about a couple of months ago, and I noticed that it is now landscaped. It's all xeriscape, but it is landscaped down there on the just off of South Main there behind the Clarion, that new apartment complex. So thank you for the follow through on city staff's work to make sure that got completed. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? No? Okay, then we will move on to our staff comments with our employee of the month.
Two of the most uncomfortable people at the microphone at the same month.
The life of the party, these two. Jason Norris, Finance. Good evening, Council. It's my pleasure to bring you the Employee of the Month this month for December. I have a little write-up I'm going to read. This is Rian Carlson, our AP clerk and helper of grants and fixed assets and everything else we need, and kind of manager of a lot of our staff and getting our bills paid. So Rian has been an outstanding employee within the finance group for several years. She works efficiently and accurately in all of her job duties. She is positive and professional in her interactions with staff and especially the public. She's recommended several process changes to better accommodate vendors. Rian works early and late in order to meet deadlines. She effectively resolves difficult situations for vendors and is diligent in working with staff to have a quick turnaround time in invoice processing. Rian is a strong team member on our staff and is a great coworker. Cedar City is fortunate to have employees like Rian Carlson. She's outstanding in every way, and I feel that she's more than deserving of the Outstanding Employee Award.
Okay. Now your favorite part.
Yeah, this is it right here. Congratulations, Randy.
Thanks so much. See that block nut?
Oh,
Maybe there's a message there to me.
maybe. You like that. You having that. Locked in your ideas.
Yeah.
All right, are there any other staff comments?
Mayor, I forgot one thing too. I want to make sure that I bring up before we're completed. I apologize.
All right, talk.
I just wanted to offer my thanks to the event director position and Brad Abrams and his staff, because we haven't met since we had the the street lighting, and it was in the middle of a snowstorm, and they adjusted very quickly. And if you had a chance to come, these chambers were festooned with 9 trees and garlands and cake, tree decorators and hot chocolate. But it was a lovely event, and I estimated 100 to 125 people. I think we would have had a lot more had not been the weather, been the conditions. But we had 2 choirs from both the high schools come and usher in the season. So I wanted to go on record and publicly thank Todd and the people in economic development for all they did to put that together.
And admin staff even helped carry in and set up trees all day. I was getting pictures.
Everybody punts when they have to. It was great. So thank you.
Oh, yeah.
All right, thank you. Darren?
Thank you, council and staff. Darren Adams with the police department. Just 2 quick things. The first one is our annual Shop with the Cop event. You've probably seen advertisements for that for many weeks now. We were able to deliver all the trees last night from the Jubilee of Trees that Laura Albrecht and Ben Batty so feverishly put together, and we're so appreciative of that. We don't have the tallies yet, but it's been a good year. So if you've never been and witnessed this, we would just extend an invitation. We'll be at Canyon View High School at 6:30 a.m. to pair and to eat with the kids. And then about 7:30, we'll be back to Walmart. And so if you want to come and watch the joy and the glee and the screams, it's all public safety, fire, police, and anybody that we can get there. So
Is it Saturday?
Saturday morning, the 7th. Yeah. And then just wanted to express our gratitude. It's been a challenging few weeks for the police department with the tragedy that occurred in our community. And we have felt of your support, and we appreciate that so much. We hear you every week when you pray for us specifically, and I'm here to tell you that those prayers work, and they do, and they did work. This incident went off really as perfectly as it could have, and although it was a tragedy for the family, I think it went as well as it could have. So just wanted to extend our gratitude to each of you and the mayor and the city manager for that support. It's meant a lot, and everybody's getting through it, and we appreciate that so much. So thank you.
Darren, will you give them an update on Chad? On the fact that it's
Oh, yes.
cleared and over?
Yeah. So as you may have seen, the county attorney issued his letter ruling that shooting justified and within the confines of the law. And so the matter at this point is closed, and we're moving forward. And Officer Bands is scheduled back to work next week for training, and then back on duty on the 18th. And he is doing remarkably well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I forgot, we do need to excuse Councilman Cousins. He will obviously not be here this evening. That was in my notes at the very beginning. Are there any other staff comments? No? Okay, then we will move on to our business agenda with our public comment portion, if there's anyone that would like to address the council. No? Okay. We'll go to our public with our consent agenda. Item number 1, approval of minutes dated November 6th and 13th, 2019. Ratify bills dated November 18th and approve bills dated December 2nd, 2019. Approve the 2020 meeting schedule.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move to our action agenda with item number 4, consider an ordinance approving the request to amend the plat of the Valley View subdivision.
Bob Platt here. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. This is up at the corner of Spruce and Paradise Canyon Road, vacating a little portion of Valley View subdivision so we can go to the next item, which is tied to it, basically.
Okay. Does the council have any additional comments, questions?
Move to approve that ordinance.
Second.
All right, we'll start with Councilwoman Hartley.
Aye.
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 Awesome. Okay, item number 5, consider the vicinity plan for the Paradise Townhome PUD.
And this is the same property.
You still didn't say your name.
Oh, Bob Platt. Sorry, I did once. Okay, so this is same property. Developer wants to build 4 townhomes, and this has been through staff. Zoning's in place. Everything's in place for this to move forward.
I'll give you
Okay.
a green one.
Is there any additional comments, questions from council?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6, approve road dedication at 5300 West, 1200 North.
Ron Larson with Three Peaks Engineering and Levitt Land, and this is the road out at Port 15 that goes around the parcel that we subdivided a couple of months ago. This is what actually dedicates the road to the city.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 7, consider an ordinance amending the zone from residential agriculture to R-1 on property located at 2800 West, 1800 South.
Ron Larson again. This is the property that is located within the Iron Horse RDO area, the pods 2 and 6. And it's changing it to R1, which is what was designated on the RDO.
Mhm. So I don't know whether I bring it up here on the next one because they're sort of tied together, but I still have the same concerns I had 2 weeks ago about addressing the traffic issues for the people in the south end of the city. And so I want to know if there's been any further thought or possible discussions. Again, I'm not opposed to making this approval, but I want us to make sure we have a plan before we keep approving additional buildings in the south end of town. And want to know if staff or council members have any thoughts or recommendations for this.
Well, I've had discussions both with Brent Drew and with Jeff Hunter and with Kit,
You've been a busy
On it.
girl. Thank you, madam.
trying to figure out how we cannot drop that traffic down into Eagle Ridge. And it sounds like, I don't know if you want to talk about the new, if Brent wants to talk about a couple of the options, or if we want to approve the vicinity plan with the commitment that they'll put that road through to Home Depot one way or the other. And
Brent Drew with Levitt Lands. There, we're gonna get
Yeah,
that
good
in.
job.
All right. So we in fact, one of the new things we just learned about today. So we had a meeting with Paul Bittman, and I think he wisely said we need to research this more and go through there to find out what kind of tools are available. And this one is similar, Scott, to one you're talking about, where we could put in a city standard road,
Mhm.
you know, and then pay it back over a time. And it's a thing called the Public Infrastructure District. It was passed May 2019 by the legislature. I think I said this in the meeting with Paul. We knew just enough to be dangerous while we were in there, and that, you know, he said we just need to do some more research and go through it and see if that's a way of maybe putting that whole road in as the street department would want to have it there. So we do need some more time to study that part and go through and see, but we are working on different ways to figure out how to get a road through there so that, you know,
when I talked with Jeff, he said Public Works would like, I don't know if you want to explain, Jeff, because I'm not going to get the terms right, but the base and whatnot that would be under a normal city standard road to be under that double chip sill if you go that route. Would you guys address that? If we were to approve
That's exactly what it would be, it'd be.
So the road bed would be standard.
Over-excavation,
Okay.
the road base, everything is just not asphalt, it's just a double chip seal. Then you tear up that and pave over it, so the design of the road, the cross-section through it, everything is all the same as if you were gonna asphalt it, it's just delaying the cost of asphalting it later.
And Ron, can you just tell me what is the distance we're talking here roughly?
It's 3,000 feet.
Okay.
So a little over half a mile.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a ways. So.
A pretty good size.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that long, but I did measure it today and it's about 3,000 feet.
So I don't know if you'd be comfortable if we approve the vicinity plan based on your agreement that you're going to put one or the other of those two road types in there so you can move forward.
I think we're fine as long as we are not committing to do a full-blown road.
Okay.
Unless we can come up with a way of this other
Mhm.
way
Right.
of doing it.
Yeah.
We will do something. If we can't do that, we'll do the double chip seal and it'll be on, fully designed and approved cross-section. We would basically submit construction drawings for review. So it'd all be designed. It's just that when we go to build it, we just wouldn't pave it yet.
Okay. So it'd be included in the bonding and
Yeah,
everything.
we could, yeah.
Okay. Tyler, do you see any problem with that? With if we, I don't know how the other council members, but I felt comfortable.
Yeah, if both parties are agreeable, then this is fine.
Okay.
And what about the other, there was some discussion made, we've been doing a lot of work, prior to the meeting, talking with engineering and some other options. And one that was brought up, and I don't know, I didn't talk to Tyler about it, but Paul and I have had conversation, and Councilman Phillips on this. We're trying to find out the difference between the double chip seal and the final pavement. If
You mean how thick it is, or
well, the
what
cost, and we got that figured out. But I think to complete that, one of the questions was, and maybe this other ordinance, Tyler maybe could enlighten us on that, but would adapt to where you could finish that portion. So we had the whole surface down and all the road to standard, and then commit to finish the curb gutter and sidewalk at a future date.
And that's what I think would be.
Have you heard of that?
Or is that just something we've been talking about?
No, it is. And this is what we've talked about. If we could do this PID that they've or some way to pay for it now, we would basically put in the full cross section, the asphalt, road base, everything. And then we'd still add the curb and gutter later so that we're not putting all that in now and just having it sit and go bad.
I get that. And that's,
that's the difference, is if we could come up with a different way to pay for it and then have the developer pay it back, we'd do the full section.
So what we cost was about, what did we come up with, Kit? 26 cents a square foot difference between the double chip seal and the regular road base.
It just depends. Totally depends on the oil prices too.
Yeah, I get that.
A road like that, a 66-foot road's probably at least 3.5 inches of asphalt, I think.
Depends on the soil.
Might even
the soil. Yeah. The soil's affected.
So that's quite a bit of asphalt compared to 2 layers of chips.
Sure. Right. Sure.
So,
right. I'm just throwing out options as
something
that we, might. That's what we were trying to figure out. If it was a big cost burden difference, then that changes the scenario. But if it's not, we could at least have that in and finished. And the other could come as you.
No, it's something that we need to come up with the best method that benefits everybody. And if we can come up with a way to do it, we've talked with the owners and they're all for. If we could do some kind of a thing and then pay it back, then they're willing to go farther and do more than if we.
Yeah, I think anything through there would really help.
Yeah, it would.
The traffic flow situation greatly. You're going to need eventually anyway.
Oh yeah, no, I kind of mentioned.
I understand a little bit about development.
Yeah,
not a whole lot, but no, just easy. That's good. The cost. I get it. When you sell some lots and get some.
So if you want to, as far as I think what Scott was talking about, if we could approve the zone change, because the zone change has to be done before the subdivision.
Right.
And then if you want to, I think, add that to the subdivision approval of some kind of an agreement there, then I think we're comfortable with that.
Okay.
Well, I'd make a motion to approve the zone change from the agricultural to the R1.
And
Second.
Okay, then we'll do a roll call starting with Councilman Adams.
Aye.
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 Okay.
Then we'll make a motion.
Yeah, then we
You have to read it first.
Yes, I remember it.
Since we already talked about it.
Consider the vicinity plan for Saddleback Subdivision Phase 1 Iron Horse RDO. Okay, now.
All right, I'll make a motion. We approve that subject to an agreement between the engineering department and the developer coming up with the road from Saddleback to the cemetery road.
VA cemetery.
Yeah.
Throw VA
Yeah.
in
VA
there.
cemetery.
Guess I better.
Yeah.
We're now a community of 2 cemeteries.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Did you
Ron
get
and Brent.
Yeah, that'll be a good thing. Good thing.
Okay. Item number 9, consider resolution authorizing South Central Communication to relocate vehicles.
Good evening. My name is Michael East. I'm the CEO of South Central Communications. Here to answer any questions that you might have about the resolution.
I think the resolution is pretty straightforward. I don't know if Tyler needs to.
Yeah, so based on 2 weeks ago discussion, I added 2 terms. One is that the resolution would expire the last day of 2020. So if you needed to do any moving of vehicles after that, you'd have to come back for city council approval.
Okay.
The other term I added was that this is done at your own expense, and that's not to be passed off to the citizens or to the Cedar City Corporation.
Of course. Yep.
Oh, that wasn't in there before. I thought that was. Okay.
So in terms of the 1-year term, our intention is to continue into 2021 and beyond. Is there a specific reason to have to come back?
Well, that was just put in based on the discussion from the council because we just didn't want this to carry on in perpetuity.
Okay.
So if you got in touch with me in October and say, hey, we just want to renew this resolution, I could get it back before the council.
Sure. Absolutely. We can do that.
Yeah.
Great.
So Michael, this speaks to your commitment to our community?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
All right. Any other comments, questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we'll start with Councilwoman Hartley.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can we get a motion to adjourn this meeting and move into our RDA?
Motion to do just that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Where did he go?
Did you meet with him?
I did. I did.
Yeah, he was still sitting there.
It's a councilman.
You know, you see that, we talk more about that.
We have a girl.
Scott and I met with him together.
Yeah.
So,
I did. I felt good about it.
no, in fact, I pulled my agenda.
Ah,
Yeah.
The man
It
of
might
the
be very
hour.
thing that we were talking about during your.
in just a second, as soon as Renan says go.
Get us that.
Okay,
I know
Ready?
you talked
Then
about yourself.
we will. What? Oh, yeah, Ron does do the RDA. Yes.
Scott wanted to hear me speak again anyway after that.
I want to see how long we could drag
See
this
if we can
meeting
get
out.
this one to go 3 or 4 hours like last time I was left. No, just kidding. All right, we'd like to call the redevelopment agency meeting to order for December 4th, 2019. We have one item on the business agenda. Consider an ordinance for the creation of the economic incentive within the Coal Creek Community Reinvestment Area.
Thank you. Redevelopment Agency, Danny Stewart with Economic Development. This is something that's evolved just over the last few months. Just to bring you up to speed, a couple of years ago, we created the Coal Creek Reinvestment Project Area, which is a fairly large area from Main Street to I-15 along Coal Creek, and it weaves through those areas. And I can get you those maps if you need those. But anyway, we created that with the intent to be able to incent improvements in businesses in that area, and specifically in working to retain Decor Works here, who was looking at a location outside the community. You probably remember that, even though it's a very long time ago. And we, by doing that, we found several things that had to be modified with our own policy as far as local incentives go. We were to the point where we felt that we were close to finishing that, and I requested meeting with the county to make sure they were on board. So with the intent to use new tax increment from the tax year 2019 for that incentive. The county said they had issues with that they had just discovered on their own. With the creation of the project area that large is fairly standard. The one step that the county called to my attention is we needed to define specifically the parcels within that project area that would be able to be incented. So a local incentive using EdTIF, the way that the state has set this up for local entities to be able to do this, is using property tax that comes in from the improvement of a property, whether it's building a new building or in this case, refurbishing an old building, and then meeting other requirements as far as investment, job creation, and a number of other things that we've been hammering out with the help of EDC Utah. The issue that the county pointed out is this is a large project area. If some improvement were happening elsewhere in this project area, they couldn't shuffle that new increment away from the Decor Works increment unless we had recorded specifically the Decor Works properties. It just helps the county focus in on the increment that we're working with on that. I hope that makes sense to you, but in visiting with them, this, in order to have had an incentive using 2019 funds, this would have had to have been recorded with the county before the end of 2018. The county didn't know this, we didn't know this, but we wanted to make sure we're recorded now, but before the end of this calendar year, so that this can go into effect in 2020. So what we're doing tonight doesn't specify the terms of any local incentive that we've been working on for some time, but this does define the specific parcels within the project area where that incentive can be created. So that's what I'm asking tonight, is that we can get this ordinance so that I can have that recorded at the county before year's end.
So do I understand then what we're doing here this evening is just agreeing to the definition of the parcel as outlined for Decor Works, or for
Yes.
all of those?
This is just for Decor Works. When the
Okay.
project area was created, it included the legal description of each of those parcels within that large
Right.
project area. We just need to separate those out so that the county can keep track of the
Okay,
new
so we
tax
do have
increment.
all those descriptions within that area. We're just focusing on this one because it's the first one that has
Exactly.
come in for these local incentives.
Right. So if something else were to be done elsewhere in this, then we would go through this process again in a much more expedited manner. than
And
we've had
how
with
do
this
we
one.
measure, is it your office, is it the county, is it state, or is it a combination of, to see that the local business has met all of the criteria for the local incentives, whatever they might happen to be?
Right. We put that together in an interlocal agreement that is between the redevelopment agency and all of the taxing entities in the county. We use the local incentive matrix that we had created over the last year to set those guidelines. We can plug in the amount of investment, the number of jobs, the level of pay for those jobs, and then some other variables. In creating this matrix for local incentives, we counted high water usage as a negative. We've tried to take into account those things that are valuable to our community as we look to develop the way that we want to. So they report to me every year. They have to request that in writing, and they have to show that they've met those benchmarks every year to be able to qualify for those incentives from year to year.
Okay.
And those will come back to this body for review every year, just to
Okay.
make sure that they've done that.
So how soon will we be seeing the actual proposal for the incentive?
Right now, it will probably be very soon, but we knew we wouldn't be able to get to all the taxing entities before the end of 2019. That was the original goal before we realized that we couldn't use the 2019 increment anyway. So we put that off to make sure that we can get everything done in agreement with the Decor Works, with this body, and with the other taxing entities. But that's basically been drafted up. We're waiting to hear back, and I've communicated this with Tania at Decor Works. We'll go over that draft again, but we just needed to make sure that this piece of business was done.
Okay.
So this literally puts a stake in the ground. It defines an area.
Yeah, we defined one area already. This is just the area within the
Pinpointing
area.
the area.
Yeah.
Pinpoint.
So what we did, and it took a long time, as you recall, there was a public comment period and a lot of other things to create the project area.
Mm.
This is just defining the specific area related to the Decor Works incentive.
So can we agree to pass this ordinance?
Moving on to next week.
Next week.
Well,
Just
we
goes on
can
the
vote
action,
on it.
goes on the
Yeah.
action agenda for next week.
Yeah. So is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, that's great.
Any
If
other
any of you have
comments?
questions during the week, please track me
I just
down.
want one clarification on this ordinance that we would be approving. So each time that we do have a business that come in, it would still fall under the same ordinance. You just bring in a different definition of the parcel and the description of the project.
We'll need an ordinance every time, and I think moving forward, we can work that
Really?
into the actual interlocal agreement. This is done a little bit different because it was a timing issue to be able to utilize next year's increment.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
This is more for the county. So when they collect tax, they know, okay, so we've approved this area, so we're going to hold on to this amount of money.
Right.
So as additional people come into the entire area, those approvals come through slowly.
Okay.
yeah, so as they come in, we'll do the same thing, but it will be part of the actual incentive agreement.
Yeah.
That ordinance will be.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
So,
Motion.
so move to adjourn this redevelopment agency meeting. and move into our work meeting.
All in
Second.
favor? Oh, we need a second. yeah.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
You did a good job with that one, Ron.
It's a lot shorter than when you were gone. Hey, I've renewed their faith in me.
Back to back 4 hours.
Yeah.
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row. It was fun though.
All right. We will now begin our work meeting for tonight, December 4th, starting with item number 1, consider an ordinance of a no parking zone on 450 West to allow for adequate fire protection of Old Sorrel Hall.
Okay, let me get to it.
I looked at this on Google Maps. It's just a little.
Okay, Levitt Land has constructed an apartment building down on 450 West and approximately 300 South. It's in this area right here. Because of the height of the building, the fire department is recommending that we make a no parking zone in front of the building so that they'll have access for their fire trucks during a fire. And so that's what we're proposing here, is just to make this a permanent no parking zone in front of that building. Do we have any idea, Kid, how many spaces we're talking about eliminating? It's probably going to be around 10 spaces, somewhere in there. Yeah. So it might be a little bit longer than that, maybe 15, but it's basically the length of their building. It's wrong here.
Could I ask the chief to come up, Chief Phillips? Well, okay. Whoever the appropriate representative is from the fire department.
Our fire marshal.
Yeah. So a couple of questions.
State my name. Mike Schertz with the fire department.
Good prompting there. I heard what our engineer told us, but I guess my question is, I'm really conflicted on this because we hear nothing but parking problems all around the university, and now we've got an HHD zone that has fewer setbacks and less parking, and now we're going to eliminate parking. So is there really no other way we can see? I mean, I get the safety thing, and I certainly don't want to jeopardize people's lives, but is this the only option we have to address this?
Well, I think in this case, this particular project, because of the layout of the lot and the size of the building, and we need access to an entire long side of the building that's in the fire code. This is how that was handled just due to the layout. I don't think that it's something that on every project this is the case, but on this one, this is the way that
Could
the access
we have
worked.
been involved sooner in the layout process to alleviate this problem?
I guess as it came through sketch and project review, this was brought up that their configuration would require a closure of the road. So it was very early on that we talked about this, and this is kind of a function of that SHD zone, as you mentioned, that we want them to push these taller buildings out towards the street so that our ladder has access to that fourth floor. And we've moved the fire department connection and the hydrants and things of that nature out to the street. Now, I think they're constructing a fairly decent sized parking lot on the back of the building, but our access in that in our ladder truck is very limited to that backside, and that's why we needed this street side.
And will we have the ability to enforce this no parking? Because I know how students are.
Well, this is,
and maybe that's a question for the police chief,
Yeah.
but
Thank you.
You're
That was
welcome.
my question.
All right. Are there any other comments, questions? This will go on the action agenda for next week. Okay, we'll move on to our staff portion with item 2, a public hearing to consider a budget revision for the 2019-2020 fiscal year budget.
Twice in one evening. Excellent.
Jason Norris, Finance. Good evening again, Council. So you'll remember our discussion from a few weeks ago. We mentioned that we would need to do a budget revision and bring a few items before Council. And there are 2. The first one is a federal FEMA fire grant that we applied for that allows us to get some equipment for the fire department. The city has a small contribution, as do some of the other communities within the county, since we provide fire suppression several components of the county. So we've recorded everyone's contribution, and in the grant itself totals about $704,791. The second item is in our streets department. We mentioned last time that our bulldozer we use in streets is broken and repair exceeds the value of the equipment. And we are requesting that we can purchase a new bulldozer for $400,000. And we want to fund that out of our C Road fund balance that we keep in the general fund. Those funds are restricted for road purposes, road maintenance or snow removal, or equipment for those same purposes. Any questions for me?
No.
That's it?
Yep, that's
That
it.
tees up items 3 and 4. Okay. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any questions from the council? Okay, then we will open the public hearing on this item. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing on this item and move this on to the action agenda. Item number 3, consider bids for the FEMA assistance to firefighter grant in the amount of $702,000.
Mike Phillips with the fire department. You just heard the budget revision from Jason. We're just asking permission to spend that money now. It's been there for about a minute.
$704,000, $704,951.
Yep.
The check is cleared.
See, I remember those numbers.
Yeah. And 622,000 of that's coming from federal money.
Yeah. Okay.
Are there any questions, comments?
No.
Okay, you good with that going on the consent?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Chief.
Okay. Item number 4, consider bids for a new cat bulldozer.
So this one went longer than his.
What?
Before you spend it.
Jeff Hunter, Cedar City Street Superintendent. Thanks for allowing me to be up here. I guess you've had time to read my comments, and I guess just open for thank you, Jason. Any questions for me?
My only question is, I saw the bid and everything else. Do we need to do anything? Was that the only bid we received?
Yes, for the cat.
Yeah. For the cat.
Repair or the
No. The actual purchase.
So,
Yeah.
so it's off the state bid list.
Oh, it is.
So under our purchasing policy, if you do off the state bid list, you don't have to go out for bid.
Got it.
So Wheeler Machinery has a governmental pricing.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 30,000 or 30% less than what normal people would have to, contractors would have to pay.
Well, I like the fact that we're working with a local.
And it
business
is a
here.
local vendor, and they're also the ones that assessed. And then I went out, and after they tore ours down to look at the problems with our machine.
Mm-hmm.
So it was time.
All we can get out of it is scrap metal, huh?
Yep.
Anybody want to buy one? Got one for sale.
I think if, like I say, if there could be somebody out there that's got one 1972 bulldozer somewhere and
Most backyards. should
want
have
to
one.
part it out.
All right. Are there any other questions, comments? We'll put this on the consent agenda.
Yep, the storage.
Thanks, Hunter.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 5, consider an ordinance amending chapter 23 concerning short-term rental applications.
So just some quick background on this. Earlier this year, the council passed a short-term residential ordinance. Part of that ordinance required certain application requirements for an applicee to come in and complete. One of those requirements stated they needed to draw a diagram labeling the bedrooms in their home as well as parking. Since doing that, one of the unintended consequences, I think, for everyone was that application then becomes a government record, which is subject to a grammar request. So we had a concerned citizen come in and do a grammar request, and by law, I was required to disclose what a neighbor's floor plan was labeling bedrooms. To some, that may be a concern. To others, it may not be. I brought that to the council's attention a few months ago, and I was asked by a couple members to bring that up for discussion for the council. My hope was to get it done before the end of the year so that I could update that application for 2020. So I've suggested what it could look like, just striking a few words. We'd still have the diagram labeling parking, but not labeling bedrooms.
And couldn't we achieve what the schematic was intended to achieve by adding to that application some form of an affidavit saying we have this many bedrooms?
That's what I was going to ask too, if they would just certify.
Yeah, on that line, I could put in there just identifying the number of bedrooms. That way we can hold them to that number and the maximum occupancy.
Yeah, because I think the whole intent was trying to give some sense of knowing how many bedrooms they have available and that they truly are bedrooms and not something else. I understand the concern, but I don't want to get this thing get so loose that then we don't have any guidelines whatsoever, you know.
So I'll add that sentence and have it in the packet for next week.
Okay.
Was it defined anywhere what constitutes a bedroom? Was that in the international building?
Yeah, we just referred.
As defined by the international building, yeah.
Okay, but it is defined by that or not?
I don't think we specifically stated that in the ordinance, but that's what all our building codes are based on. So if we got into a discrepancy of what a bedroom is, we would fall back to that code.
Okay.
I know it was in there at one time, but that may have been one of the things that got struck. I don't remember.
And it could be in there. It's been,
Been a few months.
I'll review that and let the council know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
This will go on the action agenda.
Yes.
Okay, item number 6, consider publishing an RFP to update the Cedar City General Land Use Plan.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So the last time we did a comprehensive land use plan amendment was 2009. I think we started that one in 2007. And then there was another amendment that came through in 2012 that kind of tied the land use plan back to our zoning ordinance. As you all know, from time to time, we amend the land use plan map.
From time to time?
At request of
every week.
Landowners. Just trying to be nice.
That's our point.
So with Mr. Phillips' nice introduction, maybe it's time we look at doing a general land use plan update. Just so you know, last time we did it, it cost us about $125,000. I think we're just a little bit short of that. So if it's the council's intention to do a full-scale general land use plan update, this might be something we need to include in a future budget.
Okay.
Because we don't have that operationally available.
And this is my agenda item only because on the planning commission, members of the commission are continually frustrated as we piecemeal changes to zones and other things. And I don't want to steal her thunder, but I would like to call on a member of the planning commission to come up and express our concerns.
Good evening, Jenny Hendricks. I'm here as a member of the Cedar City Planning Commission to lend our support to the RFP to update Cedar City's land use plan. Mary Pearson, our Planning Commission Chair, wanted to be here as well, but had other commitments tonight and is unable to attend, but she does want you to know that she's in full support of this as well. As I stated, we're 100% behind the update to the land use plan, but we would urge you to take it a big step further and incorporate an update to the city's general plan, as you were just saying, to include land use and zoning, infrastructure, downtown, historic preservation, recreation, economic development, affordable housing, among other things. At nearly every Planning Commission meeting, we hear from citizens of this community who are concerned about issues that we cannot adequately address because of existing ordinances. They leave the Planning Commission meeting frustrated because we legally have to uphold the current plan. Our hands are largely tied and we can't respond the way we would like to because we can only make recommendations within the confines of current ordinance. I know I'm preaching to the choir here because those same frustrated people then come to City Council.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree that the current general plan and zoning ordinances are outdated and do not support the growth we're experiencing. We need a general plan that represents and fits the values of this community, not the community of 12 years ago. Our citizens need to be able to rely on the information that comes from the city so they can properly plan as well. If one reads through the current general plan, including the land use portion, one would find that it is more of a plan to plan and doesn't offer the sort of solid foundation for planning our community's future that we need to properly serve our people. The Planning Commission wants to help bring a solution. We envision a general plan, including land use issues, that will be self-renewing. We need to plan, then execute the plan, then reevaluate and tweak the plan if necessary, then continue to execute, and so forth. Experts say that the general plan should be updated annually. Because of the growth this area is experiencing, we agree that more frequent analysis of the general plan will allow the city to be far more responsive to the needs and wants of our citizens. Updating the general plan, as you mentioned, is a near impossible task. It's a giant job, given the constraints of time, budgets, and staffing. As the city planner, Don, is working his tail off, and we are deeply appreciative of his work as well as other city staff involved. We recognize that most staff positions are working at capacity. We propose a system where the Planning Commission vets small portions of a new general plan, including land use issues, at each meeting, and then sends recommendations to the City Council for the next steps. This would allow at least 2 different public input meetings, and then send the proposals to Don and probably the city attorney to work on creating new ordinances and doing away with outdated ordinances as needed. We further propose that we use the information from Vision 2050, which will be published shortly by the Chamber of Commerce, and the area sector analysis process, which is being funneled through the city's Office of Economic Development to jumpstart the general plan process. We can layer the results of these 2 comprehensively researched projects and leverage that information. Both of these studies have been heavily vetted by our community, resulting in built-in community acceptance. Because the community has been so deeply involved in focus groups, studies, and surveys for their opinions and input, there's already buy-in for these 2 projects. We appreciate the work of the City Council and staff, and we stand ready to help be a part of the planning solution. Thank you.
Can I get your copy of that for Renan?
You can.
Renan will be greatly appreciative. Let me add to that. I've been in conversation with Dr. Michael Clay, who is a city planner employed by Brigham Young University. And I choked when I saw the $123,000 to $125,000 price tag for a plan, but I think there are other things that we can explore that would be a whole lot more cost effective. And if we can leverage off of what's being done already, as was mentioned with Vision 2050 and ASAP, I think we can do it for a whole lot less. So I'm not sure where that leaves us in terms of giving guidance to the staff of where we go, but I would love to volunteer to help in the process of determining a direction that would work to rework our plan.
I certainly appreciate Jenny's comments, and I concur that I really am excited about the notion that the Planning Commission can actually help plan and not just react to what is presented. And I think it'll help the council also better if it's vetted and we have an opportunity to look at things and take some counsel from that body as well, and then work with staff on the best outcome. So I think this is overdue, and I'm glad it's being presented. I guess now the question is, how do we move forward on it from a staffing and a monetary standpoint? Because budget isn't for 6 more months if we're looking at something like that.
But I think we can proceed with the RFP process, and I just want to fold into that Dr. Clay as an option. So
We could proceed, if you want us to proceed with the RFP process, we can proceed with it and find out what the costs will be. Nobody's going to hold their costs for 6 months, or at least I don't think they are.
Yeah.
So it might necessitate publishing it twice.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, if we go out and do an RFP and see what the costs are, I don't know. They don't go down.
No, they won't.
This
I
isn't
understand
consumer
that.
electronics. These prices keep going up.
Well, I imagine we're at least a month away, don't you think, from 2050 and those kind of things at least?
So maybe we defer it until the votes are in from ASAP. I'm pointing at Danny. And there's the chairman of the chamber. When are we going to get 2050?
Should be about the same time frame.
Okay.
About 6 weeks or
Yeah,
so.
so we can defer this until we at least see those results and leverage.
Should we wait till after the first of the year when we get those, and then we'll bring this?
Yeah, but I think
table this
there's a
for
real
now?
there's a
That's
real
fine. That's
interest on the part of council to
Just-
make sure that we do move forward on a general plan update.
Yeah, wanted it to make it to the agenda as soon as we could. So
So now we'll table it until we get those two. Then
Those
we'll
two
bring
results.
it back, and then we can.
that is fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Item number 7, consider an agreement with BLM to renew a right-of-way grant for Spilsbury Spring Pipeline.
Thank you.
Jonathan Stathis, City Engineering Department. I brought this before the council a few months ago. We made application to the BLM to renew the right-of-way grant, and the BLM has accepted that application. And they came back with an agreement and also a cost to renew that grant. The BLM gave 2 options as far as payment. Well, first of all, they agreed to renew the grant for a period of 30 years. And that's in the contract. And then they gave 2 options for payment. One would be for a 10-year period. And then the second option would be for a 30-year, or the full 30-year period. In looking at the Water Division's budget with Rob Mitchell, he would prefer to just pay for the 10-year period at this point. And so I just wanted to get the council's input on that, on which option to.
Do we run any risk down the road of this changing dramatically so we wouldn't have this opportunity 8 or 9 years down the road? Because if there's any possibility, I think we ought to look at forking out the extra $3,000 to $4,000. Well, $3,000. I just don't want us to get in a situation where we have growth and we have these things happen, and all of a sudden they pull the plug on us for whatever reason,
Well, it's my understanding the term is still the full 30 years. It's just a matter of the city would just have to make a payment in installments. So I don't see any risk of losing the.
Well, if that's what staff is recommending, then and as long as there's no risk to the agreement.
Will the cost go up, or is it
No.
set in?
It's still fixed, isn't it?
The
From
cost is
letter,
still
it looks
fixed.
Like it
That
was still fixed.
Kind of I was okay.
We'll just get a bill every 10 years, basically. But again, it's up to the council how they would like to proceed.
Up will pay it.
Are there any other questions? No? Is council good with that going on consent agenda based on the 10-year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is actually a resolution, right?
Is it a resolution?
No, it's just
Just an
agreement.
agreement?
Just
It's
a
an agreement that will need to be signed by the mayor.
Okay. Yeah. Consent.
Okay, perfect. Okay, then we will move on to item number 8, consider an engineering service agreement with Bowen Collins and Associate for dam breach analysis of the lake at the hills.
This involves a project that's going on west of the ball fields called the Blackstone PUD. Originally, when they came in with that proposed development, they had shown development going all the way down to the bend there on Cove Drive. And then when staff started to review that, we realized that area is in the flood inundation area if the dam ever were to breach. And so that raised some concerns, and then the developer modified their plan to just start at the north end. So that's what they've started with as far as their development. And as we got looking at that, we felt like it would be good to redo the study that was done previously. There was a couple of reasons for that. One is the grading has been changed there with the addition of the ball fields, and then the grading that's been done on the site where the development is going. And then also there's some other methods that the state allows to be done as far as the analysis goes that may be a little bit more realistic in terms of what the actual flows are in a breach situation. And so that's what this agreement is for, is to do a new study to determine what the flows and what the inundation area would be if there was a breach that occurred. And then the other issue is as far as payment as to who would pay for the study. It's been proposed that the developer would pay for half and the city would pay for half of the study. And so that's kind of where we're at.
When we originally built that dam, we did all the engineering, right? And all of the engineering studies.
We
I
had
presume.
consultants
consultants,
assist us, but we did most of it.
Okay. And I'm just wondering, I don't know. I'm just wondering if the potential impact is all the developers and I don't know how much we're paying of this, but it just seems like it should be a cost to them, and I'm not sure we should be picking up any of the cost. Help me understand why we should pick up.
So I asked Jonathan that same question, and the best response that I got was when we did the dam and the first study, everything to the west of the dam didn't exist.
Okay. So it was a non-issue.
And by the way, so the ball fields weren't there. There was a pile of rocks on the corner, and I don't think the pool and the parking lot were there either. It was pretty much a blank slate when the dam went in. So we changed the topography quite a bit to the west when we put the ball fields in.
Okay.
And we've also changed the topography to the south with the parking lot and the aquatic center. So that with that response, I felt like, yeah, we do have some buy-in to the new study.
Okay.
My initial reaction was also, hey, the developer's changing the topography across the street. They should pay for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, before I realized that, well, we did some change too.
Okay.
That
So
was
how
my-
much is the total cost?
50% is like $6,000 or something.
Our piece is 6,000.
Like, give me,
50-50.
so the total cost is $12,571. Our cost would be $6,285.50.
Okay.
I also asked those same questions, and Kit and Jonathan convinced me we probably should pay half too.
Because we've made so many changes.
Any additional comments, questions? Do you want this on consent?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll go to item number 9, closed session for property negotiation and reasonable intimate.
So we need to adjourn this meeting and go into closed session.
Is that a
Second.
motion?
That is my motion.
Okay, second roll call. We'll start with Councilwoman Hartley.
Aye.
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 Why can I not say that word? Whatever. I'm done even trying. Good. Are you stopping us? I would prefer not to have that.
Yeah.
Very